It's been a long haul for anyone looking to Congress for action on just about anything, including energy. Bipartisan gridlock has ruled the day on Capitol Hill, but that's not stopping legislative leaders like Fred Upton, the Michigan Republican who chairs the House Energy and Commerce Committee. He's still fighting battles over energy issues like the Keystone XL pipeline and liquefied natural gas exports. And he thinks the prospects for action may be better now than ever before. I sat down with him on the Hill the other day. Fred, your committee has just passed a bill that would expedite the Energy Department's approval of LNG exports to other countries, including to Ukraine and Eastern European countries. What signal are you trying to send?
Well, this is, as we've sat down, earlier this week I sat down with the Hungarian ambassador of the United States, but whether it's Poland, whether it's the Czech Republic, all of those nations, I mean, the signal that they are waiting to see is what can the United States do to help them stop the Russian aggression. And it's time that we send a signal to Russia. I mean, we know that just in the last couple of weeks, Russia has, in essence, almost doubled the price of natural gas to the Ukraine. They've removed the premium that's there. They're looking for help. They're looking for a lifeline. In the meantime, we've got nearly 24 applications that have been sitting at the Department of Energy waiting for the approval. Even once they approve it, it still goes to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, to try and make a decision. Some of these projects have been, the comment period expired more than a year ago. I mean, what are we waiting for?
Well, some would say the department's already sending that sort of signal with its approval of some LNG applications already, as methodic as it may be.
Well, they're coming about every 3 or 4 months. I mean, Eastern Europe, they're watching this. The Poles, the Czech Republic, Lithuania, Estonia, they're all watching what we're doing here. It was important this last week that we passed the legislation. It's bipartisan. It's my understanding that there's similar legislation over in the Senate as well. Cory Gardner's bill, Republican from Colorado, passed earlier this week with a number of Democratic votes. Don't expect it on the House floor for a little while, a number of weeks for sure, but we're hoping to generate more bipartisan support to send the signal that, yes, the United States is ready to stand up for its allies in Eastern Europe.
Let's turn to another big issue, and that's the Keystone XL pipeline. It's drawn considerable attention since the White House on Good Friday announced it was delaying again a decision on that pipeline from Canada. Do you think Congress will finally pass legislation that would force his hand on this issue?
Well, we have the votes to do it. The question is, does Majority Leader Reid allow a binding vote to occur? And we certainly have the votes in the House. We've had bipartisan support really from the get-go. You'll remember a year ago, as part of the Senate budget debate, an amendment was adopted with 62 votes. That's more than the filibuster-proof margin to try and get things done. I'd like to think that the Senate would do something more than just a sense of the Senate resolution. I mean, do something really meaningful and do it on a bill that actually gets to the president's desk.
Well, I know what your hopes are, but I mean, when you look across the Hill, what sort of calculus do you see?
I'm not very optimistic about the Senate doing something that's binding to get this thing done. The president has delayed this now for more than 5 years coming up this fall. Most of all the studies, the route's been changed, the work has been done. What else do we need to do to get this?
But you don't think, you're not optimistic that the Congress can force through a decision on this?
I don't believe that Majority Leader Reid will allow a binding vote to get it done, knowing that it would likely pass. I think he'll take a different route, so it'll be, in essence, meaningless, sense of the Senate resolution, which
he's got a longer
is non-binding.
60 votes simply to get it on the floor, and 67
we
to
know
overcome
that we
a veto.
have the 60 votes. I mean, you need 67 to override a veto. There's been bipartisan support from this from day one, but it's been stopped. The administration has done, they made calls last year to try and decrease the number of votes, and we still got 62 votes to get it done.
Some Democrats badly want this vote. Senator Mary Landrieu, Democrat, Louisiana, your counterpart as chairman of the Senate Energy Committee, is, of course, adamant about this legislation. Have you spoken to her? Do you get any sense from her?
I've not spoken to her recently, but, she did a letter a couple weeks ago now almost demanding that the president take action by the end of May. Then a week or so later, the president said, we're going to defer this for who knows how long, certainly until after the election. We know that there's a number of Democratic senators that want to get it done. to me, this was another slap in the face of trying to get it done.
Are there other issues on which you and Senator Landrieu might work as the chairman of the energy committees?
Well, there are. Earlier this week and on the House floor a couple weeks ago, we were able to pass a number of bills relating to energy efficiency issues. And they were all bipartisan. Good work in our committee, and then again on the House floor. We're waiting for the Senate to take some of them up since we passed them some time ago now in the House. They've got a major energy efficiency bill and the Shaheen-Portman bill.
That's right. Right.
It was actually, frankly, ready to go last fall, but it didn't come up in large part because some over there, I think, were worried that an amendment on Keystone was going to be offered. It would pass, and of course.
And that's of course what we'll be watching for. But I mean, the Shaheen-Portman bill itself, that energy efficiency bill itself, can that pass the House?
I think that so what we've done in the House is we've taken elements of that. So there's smaller versions, smaller parts of that. And again, the bills that we did this week, energy efficiency for schools, we had a tenant Energy Star proposal that passed. A number of those things, yeah, they can pass, and with a pretty strong bipartisan vote.
One other bill that you're keen on these days is one involving cross-border construction of energy infrastructure from Canada to the United States. Is that bill likely to come up soon, to be move anytime soon?
We're intending to move that bill through full committee as early as this week. Frankly, by the end of the week, I think we'll be ready. I'm convinced that it can be bipartisan as well. It involves not only pipelines but transmission lines. We've made a point to say that this does not apply to Keystone. We've had that debate. We know where the votes are. We don't want to, dredge up old stories on this. This is a look to the future, and I'm convinced that we can get it done.
What about the Senate?
Well, it's my understanding that Joe Manchin and a few others perhaps are very interested in seeing this get done. So again, this is an area where I think that we can work on a bipartisan basis, really looking at the energy needs of the country, looking at an architecture of abundance. We know that today, and you know this better than anybody else, look at where we've gone in the last number of decades in terms of energy. We can be North American energy independent. We can do that, and particularly when you look at what's happened in Venezuela and other places, hey, let's use Canada.
Fred Upton, the